Hi friends! Today we are going to be creating our 12-hue gradient color wheel cityscape in worm's eye view 1-point perspective. That is a mouthful. To begin, we are going to have a blank piece of paper. This is 12 inches by 18 inches so that we have lots of room for our stuff. It does not particularly matter if you are orienting your paper portrait or landscape. I'm going to use landscape because that's what makes the most sense to me. And before I begin anything else, I am going to legibly write my first and last name and my class code 6-meow. Alrighty, now I'm going to turn my paper over so that my name is on the back. My name needs to always be on the back forever for everything. So, my blank piece of paper, I have my pencil. I should have an eraser nearby. Voila. And I have a template for a circle. A template is basically a stencil that is going to help me make my circle absolutely perfect. It can be really tricky to draw perfect circles, and we don't need that stress in our lives. So I am going to take my template. Remember, friends, you need to share. And I am going to hold it down in the middle. You can see that I am like putting pressure on my circle so that it doesn't move. So I'm going to begin slowly and carefully tracing my circle. I want it to be perfect, which is why I took the time to make stencils for all of you. Oops. Okay. Voila, there I have a somewhat perfect circle. Moving on. All right, now I have a circle. If you remember from our color wheels, we had a 12-hue color wheel. So I need to divide this circle into basically a piece of pizza or a whole pizza that has 12 pieces. It does not need to be perfectly even. We're not going to take out a compass. We're not going to measure angles, none of that stuff. We're going to make things easier for ourselves. So I am going to put a dot at the top and a dot at the bottom. And I'm going to use my ruler to cut my pizza in half. Notice how I am lining this up perfectly. It's not kind of, sort of splitting this up. It is splitting it up precisely and perfectly. All right, so now I've got 2 pieces of pizza. I need to divide each one of this into 6. And it doesn't need to be perfect, so I'm just going to think about it. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Great. 1. I'm going to start at the top and the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4. Split this one in half, so I have 5, 6. All right, I'm going to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Great. Now I'm going to go across here. 1, and another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. Okay, that was easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Perfect. Now I'm going to find the exact center of this. Inches, centimeters, centimeters. Okay, so I'm going to measure my circle. It is exactly 26.5 centimeters. So half of that is 13.25. So I'm going to find 13, and I go over to this line, and this line is a half. 13.25. I am doing that absolutely perfectly, precisely. This is not only the center of our picture, it is also our vanishing point. And I am going to connect each one of these little dash marks to my vanishing point. I am going to do this perfectly. I do not want to just sort of kind of have it kind of sort of right. Nope, I want it to be perfect. So there's one piece of pizza. Notice that they're not perfectly even, and that is totally okay. If I wanted it to be perfectly even, we could have measured angles and used like a protractor or a compass or whatever, and we could have figured it out, but that's not the case here. So I'm making sure I still have my 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, okay. Moving on to this side. Alrighty, friends, so I have 12 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 pieces of pizza. Each one of these pieces of pizza is going to represent one hue on the color wheel. Remember that hue is a color in its purest form. Excuse me. What we are going to do is we are going to build a city in 1-point perspective from a worm's eye view. So basically, I'm going to be a tiny little worm that is crawling along the ground, and I'm going to be looking up at a cityscape, and that is what I'm going to see. So friends, this vanishing point, every single thing that we make in our cityscape is going to have to come to this vanishing point. And I know that sounds crazy, but we will work it out. Each one of these spaces is going to be a building. So now we need to use our imagination. We looked at some examples. So friends, I want all of my buildings to be different height. That is the principle of variety. It's a little spice that's going to make our art extra interesting. So I'm going to start at the top, work my way around like a clock. Sure, that sounds great. My first building, I'm going to want this one to be a tall one. So I am going to draw a straight line at the top to make the roof. That is not a very good job of making a straight line. Holy cow. Okay. Notice how that this line and that line is parallel. Well, as parallel as it can be. That's going to be the height of one building. I think this one's going to be a little shorter. I want my roof to be parallel to this. If I made this line like all wonky or this line all wonky, it just would not look right. So we're going to do our best. Going to have a really tall building. Whoa, this building is tall. I'm going to make this line parallel to here. I know that's kind of weird to figure out because this is a curve, but we're going to do our best. I'm going to have a medium height building right here. Parallel to that, good. Let's see, moving along. Short building. Parallel, good. Tall building. Parallel. Parallel. Short building. Parallel. Oh, this building is really fat. How do we do this? Parallel. Short building. Parallel. Super tall building. Tall and skinny. And medium building. There we go. So now I have essentially the tops of all of my buildings. I have a crazy amount of lines. I'm going to get rid of some of these because that is really confusing to look at. Okay, got my trusty eraser, and here I go. I need to think really hard about what I need to get rid of and what I do not need to get rid of. So I'm going to start right here. My building is this shape. So I don't need these. Voila. This line is actually called an orthogonal. You may have heard me use that word before. It just means a parallel line that is going directly to the vanishing point. So this orthogonal and this orthogonal are the sides of the buildings, and this is nothing, so I got rid of it. Here's the top of my building. I am going to erase this part of the orthogonal. Voila. That's why it's great to draw light until you know you've got it right. Now I have erased all of the orthogonals that I don't need. I can still see where my vanishing point was, so I'm going to draw that back in. I've got a couple of random dash marks that I need to get rid of too. I want this to be nice and clean for when I am making my stuff. Alrighty. So now I need to go through and add details to every single building. So I'm going to pull up my handy dandy little example again, and I am going to start here, and I'm going to work my way around. Let's see. So if I make this super complicated, my life is going to be really hard. If I make a ton of tiny, busy details, life is going to get hard really fast. So I think that this first one that I make is going to be, it's a little bit taller. So I'm going to have a door right about here, maybe a window here, and a couple of windows up here. So since every line in 1-point perspective worm's eye view that goes this way, up and down, has to line up to the vanishing point. So if I want to draw a window, I need to make sure that the sides of my windows are lined up to the vanishing point. So here I go. Wish I had a clear ruler right now. I am going to very lightly draw where I want the edge of my windows to be. There we go. You see that I have 2 orthogonals that are leading up to the end. So I'm going to decide where I want the top of the window to be. That's going to be parallel with the top of the building. Here's another one. There we go. Also parallel. Parallel lines are going to be your best friend, seriously. And I'm going to say it 900 times in this video. So voila. So there's my first window. Friends, this side of my window and this side of my window, the orthogonals line up to the vanishing point. The top and the bottom are parallel lines with the top of my building. So let's do another window. I'm going to put it right here. So I've got that orthogonal already lightly drawn. I want to be consistent with my orthogonals. And then I am going to draw parallel lines that are going to be the top and the bottom of my windows. Ah, there's the bell. Time to go home. Just kidding. Let's see. One more window. Sure, these windows are huge, but I don't want my details to be too small because that's going to make me a crazy person. So there's the top of my window. The side of my window is going to be the orthogonals that I lightly drew. If you want to use a ruler on this part, that could be great. I'm going to just do my best to make a straight line. There we go. All right, I've got 3 windows. I don't need the rest of this information, these orthogonals anymore, so I'm going to erase them. That is why it is so important that you draw lightly. If you don't draw lightly, you are going to hate your life right now. Okay, so I've got windows. I want to put a door. I want to put a door right in the middle. So I need to make an orthogonal for each side of my door. So my ruler is creating an orthogonal. I do not need to draw a line that starts at this point and cuts all through the drawing that I've just made. I can just draw right along where I want my door to be. That is a trick and a shortcut and a secret. Make sure you use that correctly. There's one side of my door. I'm going to do the other side right here. This door isn't really centered or anything. It's kind of in a weird place, but that's okay. This whole line that I've created with my ruler is the orthogonal. I don't need to draw through my entire drawing, so I am just going to draw what I need. I'm going to be careful about that. I'm going to only use it correctly. And the top of the door is a parallel line. Maybe I'm going to throw in a little window right here because that's just a weird blank space. So I'm going to line up my ruler to where I want it. I'm going to draw on the line of the orthogonal. Oops, sorry, lead. Getting a little crazy. Come over here. Voila. Parallel lines. Alright, and that is as much detail as I'm going to put in that for now. I'm really not interested in making any more details. I'm going to keep on going. Let's make sure I'm still recording because that would be horrible. Yes, I am. This is great. Okay. Alrighty, I'm going to keep on going. So this next building that I have is a short building. I'm going to tilt my paper this way. It's just easier for me to think about. And maybe I want a interesting roof. Maybe I'm going to make a curved roof here. Kind of like a dome on top of a building. That seems more interesting to me. And maybe I want a line right here that I could put the title of whatever. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to worry about big details. Alright, I'm going to get real creative here. And I am going to make windows that are long and tall. I want all of my buildings to be different. I want that sense of variety, which we talked about is a principle of art or a principle of design, depending on who you're talking to. I don't like where that line is, so I'm just going to erase it and try again. I care deeply about how this is going to turn out, so I want to make sure that I like it. Okay, so, two big windows, parallel lines. Notice that I wanted to make them even. I want this building to have somewhat of a sense of symmetry. I'm not going to go crazy measuring things, but I am going to make sure that they look nice. Moving right along. This is a medium-sized building. I'm going to make this kind of like maybe a storefront. So it's going to have a big front right here, lining up my ruler. Doing it perfectly. Going to make a big kind of opening to a storefront. And is going to be parallel with all of these other lines. Okay. Maybe I want to have a little awning. Make sure your details are nice and big. If you go crazy with your details, you're likely to be real hard later. I'm going to clean up that shape. That is a geometric shape that I made using lines. Both those things are elements of art. I'm going to want this doorway to be thick. So I'm going to make sure I use my orthogonal. I don't have to draw through everything I've already drawn. I can just use what I need. Let's see. Maybe I want a little door here. Maybe this is like a flower shop or something. That sounds awesome. Parallel lines. Little window right here. Oops. That's not a parallel line. Oh, look at how cute. This little store is the cutest thing ever. Holy moly. Oh, I want some windows above it. I don't want crazy big windows like over here. I want some different kind of windows. So I'm just going to lightly draw the sides of my windows. Alright, so my windows are going to live within this space. That's where they're going to live. So I'm going to decide where I want them. Use parallel lines. There's one. I want those to be the same size. I don't know if they really are, but that's okay. Here is another one. That window is a lot bigger. Okay, so I've got 4 windows. I like them. They're fine. I'm going to erase the orthogonals that I don't need, which is why we draw light until we know we've got it right. Here we go. Voila. Maybe I want them to have something cute on top of the window. These details are getting a little small for my liking, but oh well. Oh man. Okie dokie. There we go. There's that one. Moving along. I've got a big, tall building. Maybe I want to make this one like a big skyscraper. So that is exactly what I'm going to do. I want this to be a big, tall skyscraper with all sorts of crazy windows. I want them to be really tall and really thin. So I'm going to line up my ruler to make my orthogonals. Oh yeah, that is a tall, thin window. I'm going to put another one right next to it. Lining up my ruler with my vanishing point, always to make my orthogonals. Using parallel lines for the tops. This window is going to be a little smaller. Oh man. There we go. Woohoo! Look at that skyscraper. That looks awesome. Moving along. Moving right along. Making sure my stuff is in the right screen. Okay. I want this to be another kind of storefront. So I'm going to put a big banner right here. Here we go. I want there to be a sign. So I'm using parallel lines for the top and the bottom of my sign, and hey, I need an orthogonal, so I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to line it up right where I want it and draw in that orthogonal. I do not need to draw a bunch of stripes through my whole entire drawing every single time. If I'm using my ruler correctly, which I know we all are because we are super smart, then we can do it just like that. Okay, I need a door for my building. I need orthogonals. Door right there. A door right there. Top of my door. Oops, I didn't draw it quite long enough, but that's okay. And a big window, like a big storefront window. So for the sides of my windows, I am using orthogonals. Oh man, I don't love where that is. Whatever. Parallel lines right there. Voila. Good enough for me for now. Now I am going to continue. What am I doing? Okay. Another big tall building. This is maybe somewhat of like an apartment building. I'm going to draw an awning. I'm just thinking of buildings seen in my life. I don't want to get too crazy with the details. My life will be harder later. I should take singing lessons from Miss Brady. I could use them. Okay. So there is sort of the little shop awning. I'm getting creative over here. I need to make a door. Parallel line for the top of my door. And a window. I really don't want these to look similar. I want to have a variety. Okay, shop window. There we go. Now I want some windows around this area so that it looks cute. Maybe I want them to go right here. And my other windows can go right here. Okay, those are going to be the outsides of my windows. I guess the outside edge is what I mean. No. Line the tops and bottoms of my windows using parallel lines. That's a little more even. I don't want to get confused. Okay. There we go. So I'm going to trace over what is actually my window because I do not want to erase the wrong things. Here I go. Meow. Meow, meow. Meow, meow. Alrighty, friends, you get the picture. I'm going to finish this up and then I will see you in a moment. Wahoo! I have finished it. I think that it looks great. I have lots of different kinds of buildings. I have lots of different variety. Remember that word is popping up a lot today. It is one of the principles of art. Okay, so next thing that we need to do is we need to find a Sharpie. We are using Sharpie because Sharpie is permanent and it is also not water soluble. If you use one of these guys, oh, the lid's not on. Gosh dang it. If you use one of these guys, when we add our watercolor gradients, this is going to smear and run everywhere. So please, 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 please make sure that you are using Sharpie. You can tell it's a Sharpie because it says Sharpie on it. Alrighty, we are going to slowly and carefully, holy cow, so carefully, trace every single thing in Sharpie. Yes, this is going to be quite the task. I want to make sure that it's absolutely perfect. Here we go. I'm actually a little bit nervous. I hope I do this well. I'm going to keep my ruler nearby because I might want to continue using it. Okay. Deep breaths. Deep breaths. Okay, here it goes. It looks so crisp and so clean. Friends, if you are not confident that you can draw these lines perfectly straight, then use your ruler. Please use your ruler. We just spent a lot of time creating this cityscape from a worm's eye view. So we need to make sure that we respect the work that we just did and that we are super, super careful with our Sharpie. You can see that I'm moving my paper all around. This just helps me draw better. Here I go. I think I'm sweating. I'm really nervous. I want this to turn out awesome. Okay, so here we go. One thing that I do, it's easier for me to draw a line straight that goes up and down than it is for me to draw a line that goes side to side perfectly straight. So, because I know that about myself, I am going to go through and I'm going to draw all of the lines that are vertical to me right now. You certainly do not have to do that. It's just something that I have always done, and I find it to be super helpful. The reason why we're so glad that we did not make tiny details is because this Sharpie is kind of fat, and it would just take forever to cover up a bunch of tiny details. So here we go. Now I'm turning my paper again so I can keep up with my vertical lines. Again, you do not have to do that. It is just something that I do. All of these lines I made using orthogonals. I did that perfectly before, and I trust my work, so I know that I don't have to double check it. I can just go over all of these lines. Voila. Okay, I'm going to see if there's anything else that I want to add. I think I want to add like a doorknob, and maybe, I don't know, like some shrubs or something right there. Okay, cool. So now that I have traced that entire building, I'm going to take my trusty eraser and I'm going to erase over everything. The reason I'm doing this one building at a time is because if I had to know I had to erase this entire thing, it would probably stress me out and I would maybe rush through it, which both of those things would be bad. So I'm just going to do it building by building. I'm going to erase all of these pencil lines. I'm doing it thoroughly. Voila, and it is so beautiful. I am stoked. Okay, so here I go, continuing on with the other buildings. Turning my paper because that is easier for me. Going slowly and carefully. I'm trusting myself. This is a great example right here, this window thing that I drew. I do not want to draw over all of the lines because I want to erase some stuff that's going on in there. So I'm just going to be really careful and thoughtful when I do that. Okay. I'm using my brain to concentrate on what I'm doing. I'm not really thinking about anything else. I'm concentrating on my work, and it's going to turn out awesome because of that. Friends, when I ask you to draw with your voices off, I'm not saying that because I am a teacher and you are a student. That's not why I'm saying that. I'm saying that because speech is an incredibly dominant activity in your brain. It uses so much of your brain's energy that when you are focusing on your drawing and your brain is connecting with your hand and you're using your imagination and you're working on lovely art, you're using 100% of your brain's energy on what you're doing right here. The second that I open my mouth to talk, and yes, I'm including the talking to you that I'm doing right now, that is just tearing all of that energy, well, not all of it, but seriously a ton of it. It's tearing my energy apart from what I am doing and then worrying about what I'm saying. See, I kind of just even lost my train of thought just there because I was focusing so hard on this line. Okay, that's like the level of engagement that I want from you every single day. So when I ask you to turn your voice off, it's not because I don't want you to have any fun. It's because I want you to make the very best artwork that you possibly can. We are striving for excellence in everything that we do, including my class, especially my class. Okay, done with that building. I'm going to erase some stuff, especially in this window, because I didn't trace over every single line. I'm doing this thoroughly. Oh, excuse me. Alrighty, friends, you get the gist of what I'm doing. So I am going to work on the rest of this, and I will see you in a second / in like half an hour, because I feel like this is going to take a while, because I'm going so carefully and so awesomely. I don't even know if that's a word. Okay, see you later. Alrighty, friends, I am all done adding my Sharpie and erasing all of my lines. You can see a little bit left of my vanishing point, but we will take care of that in a minute. Our next step is to add our gradient of our 12 hues of our color wheel. So you guys so awesomely painted all of these colors. Oops, I didn't finish. Whoopsies. All of these colors using only the primary hues. You used yellow, red, and blue to make all of these colors, and you did it so well. If you are not 100% comfortable with this yet and you want to like try some more, ask me for some scratch paper and I will happily give that to you so you can work on mixing your colors if you're not quite ready for this yet. In fact, that's probably a good idea for everyone to have some scratch paper around so they can work with it. All right, so I've got this nearby. I also have this color wheel. This has a grayscale, which is going to be important because we need that as well. I'm just going to keep all of these visual references here so that I have them to look at color-wise, but I know what order to go in. It is so important that we keep this order. It doesn't matter what is on top, it does not matter anything like that, but this is the order in which it goes, and if it goes in any other order, it is not right and it is going to look super wonky. So we are going to keep these nearby. We're going to think carefully about what we're doing, and yes. So I've got my 2 color wheels. I have my palette. I told you guys that I ordered new watercolor palettes. I'm using a fresh, shiny new one because it was just so exciting. Anyways, we have all of these hues, but we are not going to use them because we are smart enough to do the whole color scale, the whole color wheel using yellow, red, and blue. I think this one's purple. Yep, this one's the blue one. We also have our black for when we are making our shades. Remember, hue plus black equals a shade, and hue plus white equals a tint. Since we're using watercolor and we don't have white, we are relying on the white of our paper and water to make that tint. So we are going to, I also have, some paintbrushes and some water, and I have this guy to help me mix colors. I don't have these for everyone. You guys are going to be mixing colors in your lid. So sorry. Okay, let's get started. Before I do anything else, I need to know what I'm doing and where I'm putting all of these things. I'm going to make little notes with my pencil outside of my circle, and it doesn't matter because I can erase them, of what building is going to be what color. So it doesn't matter where I start as long as I keep these in the right order. So I think I want my, this is hard to decide. This is really hard to decide. I think I want my warm colors to be over here and maybe my cool colors to be over here. I don't know. I'm going to think about this for a second. I hope that you are thinking as hard as I am about what you want to happen. Okay, maybe I'll just start here with this guy. I'm going to make this guy red. So I put a little R. If this guy is red and we're going along our color wheel, then this building needs to be red-orange, R-O. That would make this one orange. This one would be yellow-orange. Yo! Hey guys. And this one would be yellow. This one would be yellow-green. Then onto green. And then onto blue-green. To blue. To blue-violet. To violet. To red-violet. And back to red. Make sure that this is perfectly in order before you start. It would be a really silly mistake to have these out of order. So please, please, please double check. Maybe ask your neighbor to double check. You could ask me to double check. We need to make sure that this is correct before we start painting. Okay, so I'm going to put my color wheel right here. I have my notes. That means it is time to start painting. Friends, I need you to realize that all of this stuff that's not a building is sky. Your color wheels, or excuse me, your color gradients are not going to reach all the way here into the middle. They're only going to be as long as your building is. This is all going to be sky. This could be blue, this could be like a sunset, it could be a storm. I don't care what it is, but for now it's going to be left alone. This is going to be left as white for now. Your gradient is going to be as long as your building. So my red gradient is going to be this big. I am going to have my tint on the inside. I'm going to have my hue in the middle, and I'm going to have my shade on the outside. The reason why we are doing this is very important. It's not arbitrary, which means I just made it up. It's very important. We are doing worm's eye view, and we are the worm. I am a worm. Hi, my name is Ms. Worm. Anyways, actually we all know my name is Ms. Bob Ross. When something is closer to us, it is darker. When something is farther away from us, it is lighter. If I am a worm standing right here, this part of the building is going to be closer to me than the very top of the building. So that means this has to be darker than this. So my tint is towards the middle, my hue is in the middle, and then my shade is on the outside. My shades are going to be all around here. Got it? Okay, so it is time to begin. Alrighty, I'm going to start right here. I'm going to move it so it's closest to me. I have my, there we go. I have my paints out. I have this little guy for mixing. I've got my paintbrush. I am ready to start. Oh, also I have this really ugly, dirty rag that's going to help me if I need it. Better safe than sorry. So I'm going to decide if I want to use a flat brush or a round brush. I think I'll go with a round brush. Okay. I'm so nervous to start. I hope that I do it really, really well. Okay, so I've got my red paint. I am going to put a bunch of just plain red in here. Need more water. And this is going to be where I start to mix my shade. I know that I want the top of my building to be a tint, so I am going to begin with the wet on wet method that we discussed. So with a clean brush, oops, it was not totally clean, oh well. With a clean brush, I am going to get the top part of this paper wet. I don't want to go too far down because I don't want to dilute it too much. I'm going to add a little bit of water to this. I'm going to make sure that my brush is really wet. And then I am going to add my paint to it. So as it gets closer to the bottom, it needs to get darker. So that's as light as it's ever going to be. It needs to blend really easily. And what is the word I'm looking for? Gradually. Gradient. And it needs to get darker as I go down. So now I'm working with just my hue I don't have it watered down a ton, but I have not added any black yet. Before I worry about that, I'm going to make sure that I get my gradient between my tint and my hue blended really well. This takes time and concentration. Alrighty, I feel pretty good about that. I'm going to keep adding some red. As it goes down. And now that I'm down to about here, I need to start thinking about the fact that I need a shade. So my brush is super wet. I'm going to figure out which one is black. Oh man, that's brown. Okay. I've got some black and I'm going to add it to my red. And then I am going to start painting that shade. Then I'm going to add some more black, and I'm going to add more black to my red. And if I add too much black, which I think I did, I'm just going to end up with red. But that's okay, I can fix it. Notice that this is a process that is happening pretty slowly. I'm not rushing through this. I am blending these as well as I can. Adding a little bit more red to my shade because I think there was too much black at first. Ooh, that looks so nice. Okay, I am loving this. I feel super good about what's going on right now. Please notice how sincerely careful I'm being. Voila. Oh my gosh, I feel awesome about this. I hope that you feel awesome about yours as well. So I have my tint up here. I use the wet on wet method. I have my hue, which is the purest form of a color. And then I have my shade, which is red plus black at the bottom. I am ready to move on to, which direction do I want to go? Excuse me. I think I'm going to move on to red violet. So in order to do that, I need to make red violet. So remember, we're only using primary colors, so to make red violet, I need red and blue. No, actually, I'm going to do this differently. I'm going to do all of the primary colors first, and then I'm going to do the secondary, and then I'm going to do the tertiary. It is easier to do that, at least for me and my brain. So next I'm going to do yellow. I'm going to situate myself so that my yellow is closest to me. Here I am. I know that this is my yellow because I've already planned it out. Alrighty, so I've got a clean brush. I need yellow paint. Need to add a lot of water to my watercolor because it's very dry. And at the top for my tint, oops, I almost dropped. The top for my tint, I'm doing the wet on wet method with a clean brush, and again, my brush wasn't totally clean, as we can see. We'll add this. Next, I have my hue. I want my hue to be nice and bold. My tint is not as light as I wish it would be. It's kind of a bummer. Please notice that I'm not like individually painting windows or anything like that. That's not what I'm interested in at all. I'm just painting the entire building one gradient. Okay, I definitely wish that my tint were lighter. Oh well, there's nothing I can do about it now. So I'm going to move on to my shade. I am putting yellow paint in my little guy. And as we remember from making our shades of yellow before, they're not the most beautiful colors. And I don't want to add too much. I also don't want to have a ton of water, by the way. Alright, so I've got like some black on my paintbrush, and I'm just going to mix it in. And I'm going to go from there. That really didn't do any difference at all. Okay, a little more black. I would rather add a small bit at a time than like add so much black and then I just have black. Ooh, there we go. And I'm gonna add a little more black. I hope this is not too much black. Nope, we're good. It's not the most beautiful color on planet Earth. I so wish that my tint were lighter. So I'm going to see if I can make my hue any darker. By that I just added pure yellow hue. Okay, that helped a little bit. So I've got my shade, I have my hue, and I have my tint. Did I mention that I wish my tint were lighter? Oh well, moving on. Okay, so I've done red, I've done yellow. I'm going to find my last primary color, and that is blue. So I've got my blue right here. I am excited about it. I've got my palette. Okay. So I need to find out exactly which one is blue. Okay, that is blue. I would hate to use the purple accidentally. I can't even imagine starting over at this point. I'm going to make sure that I do this very carefully. So with a clean brush, I'm starting with my tint. My brush is actually clean this time. I am going to do the wet on wet method. Nope, not purple. I'm going to make sure there's lots of water on my brush. And I am going to make my tint. Now I am adding my hue, which is the purest form of color. In this case, it's just my blue. Nothing else. Before I move on to my shade, I want to get this just right because I care a whole awful lot. I want it to be perfect. Ooh, look at how nice and dark that is. Remember, water is what makes your paint lighter or darker. So if you have like really light paint going on, it's because you're using maybe a little too much water. Oops, I went out of the lines. Okay. Continuing to move on, pulling this down. Okay, now I'm going to start to mix my shade. So I'm going to pick up some blue. I'm going to rinse my brush really well. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of black and I'm going to mix that in. Sometimes it's kind of hard to tell like exactly what your color is doing before you put it on paper. Hopefully I remembered to give you guys scratch paper. If I didn't, I'm going to stop right now and do that. Okie dokie. Meow. Now I'm going to take a little bit more black and I'm going to add that to my blue shade. I'm going to do the very bottom. If I add too much black and this just looks black, then I'm going to be super sad and then I'm going to fix it because I don't want this to be just black. I want this to be a blue shade. Sometimes when I'm trying to blend something in, I just take a clean brush with water and I blend in some of that pigment. Okay, voila. Okay, I've got my very clear hue, tint, and shade. Voila. Alright, now I'm going to work on my secondary colors. My secondary colors are what happens when you mix a primary with a primary. Remember, primary, think 1, so primary plus primary equals secondary, so think 2. I am going to move right over here to my violet. Okie dokie, I've got my violet right where I want it, I've got my color palette, I've got my paint. Alrighty, so before I do anything else, I need to actually mix my violet. So I'm going to get some red and some blue. I want some nice equal amounts because in the future I'm going to have to make my red violet and my blue violet, and they need to be all different. Alright, I definitely want some more blue. Oh man, now I probably have too much blue. Oh, that's a great blue violet, but I'm trying to make violet. Man, I have way too much blue. What was I thinking? I think I'm going to save that for my blue violet. Starting a new puddle. Sometimes we've just got to go with things. Okay, I'm not going to make the same mistake again and add like a ton too much blue. And that's exactly what I just did. See guys, everybody struggles sometimes. Finally, I've got purple. Test my purple. I think I want to add even a little bit more red. Yeah. Okay. Good. So I've mixed my purple. I'm going to double check and make sure that I'm painting on the right one, because that would be crazy if I was not. I'm going to take a clean brush and I am going to add my purple. Got my tint going nicely. Right, now I'm going to work on my hue. Hue is color in its purest form. I'm going to want that to be nice and dark and rich. This is turning out lovely. Feeling good about things. Okay, I'm out of purple. That's a shame. I need to make the exact purple that I was using before. Not kind of close, exactly. I'm gonna test it. Nope, I need more red. Okay, I'm gonna add some black. Not too much black because I don't want it to be too crazy dark. Ooh, yes, that's so nice. Yes, this is great. I want to blend in kind of a harsh line, so I'm just taking a wet paintbrush and doing that. Yes, I feel great about this. This is lovely. Okay, very good. Okay, I'm going to move on to orange. My orange is right here. Making sure I'm putting it in the right one. That would be such a silly mistake. I do not want to deal with that. So, if you don't know how to make orange, you can look and see what other colors are on the either side. So, red, yellow, meow, orange. Okie dokie. I'm going to get my yellow first. Yellow is a relatively weak color compared to red. So I'm going to start with yellow. Okay, sorry about that. Nope. Alright. When I think I have enough yellow, I'm going to add a little bit of red. If I add too much red, I'm going to get red-orange. That's not what I want. And if I add too little, I'm going to get yellow-orange. You can compare your orange to the orange that you made on your color wheel. That is like the exact color of Kraft macaroni and cheese from what I remember. Okay, clean brush. Starting off with my tint. I'm going to do the wet on wet method. As you can see, my brush wasn't totally clean, but like, what are you gonna do? Okay. I'm going to get my orange paint. And I'm going to work that in. If this looks too much like your yellow paint, you've got a problem, and you need to fix it. Got my hue, my purest form of a color. And I need to start thinking about my shade. Okay, so I'm going to rinse off my brush. I'm going to grab a little bit of black. And I'm going to mix it in. This is not a pretty color. Ugh. And I'm going to go in with that. Ew. Blending it up. I've got kind of a harsh line that I want to get rid of. Taking a wet brush. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to add some more black. Not too much because I don't want it to be all black. Ugh, this color just got uglier. And I'm going to go in at the bottom with that. Remember, I'm not looking for this to be black. I'm looking this to be a shade of orange. Okay, cool. Good enough for me. Alright, we're going to my next secondary color, which is green. Ready to go. Okay. Got a clean brush. If you don't know what color makes green, you can look and see what colors are on either side of it. We've got red and yellow. Nope, yeah, blue and yellow. Ha, that was funny. Okay, I'm going to go in. I'm going to pick up a bunch of yellow. Remember, yellow is a super, super weak color. And blue is a super, super duper strong color. So, I need lots of yellow. Like, lots of yellow. Did I mention I need lots of yellow? Okay. I need the tiniest bit of blue. I'm going to clean off my brush. I'm literally going to get a tiny bit of blue. Like a tiny bit of blue. And I'm going to mix that in there. And that's all I need. I need a green that can get lighter, or more yellow, excuse me, and a green that can get more blue. So I need to make sure that I have a nice, like, middle. Okay. I'm going to brush off that paint. Clean paintbrush. And I'm going to go in with a clean wet paintbrush and start working on my tint. I can see that that's coming out really strong, so I rinsed all the paint off of my brush and I'm continuing on. There we go. Better. Okay. Now I'm going to start working on my hue. This building is a much taller building than some of the other ones that we've been using, so it needs more paint. I'm going to start thinking about my shade. I think I'm going to need some more green now. I'm going to mix that really quickly. The tiniest bit of blue. There we go. Tiniest bit of black. Okay, maybe a little more. Ew. This looks like a pea green color. Not pea like pea. Oh, I should edit that out. I'm going to work on blending this perfectly. Got a harsh edge. Take a wet brush. Figure that out. Very good. And now I'm going to add even more black. Remember, I don't want black, I want a shade of green. Not the most beautiful color in the world, but it is technically correct, so I'm gonna go with it. Alright, done and done. Alright, I've got my primary colors, I've got my secondary colors. It is time to work on my tertiary colors. Primary means 1, secondary means 2, and tertiary means 3. So, my blue looks a little weird. Okay. since I'm right here, I'm just going to start with my blue-green. Got my palette, got my paint, I've got a cough. Okay, so I need something that is in between blue and in between green. I can't use green paint, so I'm using yellow and blue. Oops, I put it right here. That's probably enough yellow because I don't want as much yellow as I had before. And now I'm going to grab some green. Ooh, such a pretty color. I think this might be one of my favorite colors. I added some more yellow just because I want more paint. Not necessarily because I wanted the color to be more yellow. I just want some more paint to work with. And since I added so much yellow, I need to add some blue. Alright, I'm going to test this out. It's still pretty green. I want some more blue. Yes. I think I still want a little more blue. Okay, that should be enough. I'm going to start with a clean brush for my tint. That's coming in real hot. I'm not loving that. There we go. We really don't want to have any harsh edges, like at all. Okay. Start working on my hue. That's such a nice dark rich color. Ooh, that's so dark and inky. It's beautiful. I can barely see my cute little storefront underneath it though. I'm gonna have to do something about that. Very nice. Moving along. Alrighty, blue, violet. Blue, violet. I need something that is not blue and is not violet. It is somewhere in between. Ooh, this is the color I already made because I couldn't get it right. Woohoo! There it is. Make sure. Oh, yes, that is perfect. Okay, clean brush. Got a big building here, so I hope this color turns out awesome because it's going to be really noticeable. Giving myself a lot of area to work with for my tint. Oops. Oh yes, so pretty. This needs some work. My tint is pretty dark. I'm gonna make sure that this is nice and dark as the hue. We're losing a lot of these details, but we'll come back with our Sharpie. No problem. Oops. So pretty. This color is so dark and inky. It's really beautiful. It's like almost black, but I know it's not. I know it's the shade of blue violet. It's black like my soul. Just kidding. We all know that my soul is like hot pink. Okay, cool. Cool, cool, cool. Alrighty, moving right along. I am now on red violet. I know that because I made a note for myself so that I didn't forget. Okie dokie. Finding a spot on my palette. The two colors I need for red violet are red and blue. And I need lots of red and just a little bit of blue because we know that blue is the super strongest color ever. My building is not super big for this one, so I'm not really worried about it. That should, yeah, I don't know. That should be enough. Nope, probably not. Okay. I'll keep going a little bit. Alrighty, friends, I really just need the tiniest bit of blue because blue is super strong. No, that was not enough. Okay. Let's see about this color. I'll test it out. Maybe that was a little too much. I don't know. It's hard to say. Paint some by my red, paint some by my purple. Okay, that should do it. So for my tint, of course, starting out with a clean paintbrush. Time to start adding some black. Start out with just a little bit. More than that. There we go. Remember, we don't want black, we want a shade of blue, nope, red violet. There we go. Oh no, I can't do that. Alrighty. Red, orange. I need a really, really reddy orange. If I mix red and yellow, we know that we get orange. But if I add too much yellow, I'm just going to end up with regular orange. I need red orange. That didn't really change it. Let's try a little bit more. Nice. Nope, not enough. Looks too much like my red. Gotta keep going. It's no problem though. Yellow is a super weak color, so it takes a lot to make it do what you want it to do. Much better. Okie dokie. I like the way that looks. Time to start adding some black. Not too much, not all at once. This is not going to be the prettiest color. Ugh. Gross. Adding a little more black. Here we go. That'll do. Just keep swimming, just keep swimming. Yellow, orange. You need lots of yellow. This building's kind of wide and big, so I better make enough paint. Alrighty, friends. If I add too much red, I'm just going to end up with orange. And I already have orange. I need something different. So I need to add just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of red. Like literally the tiniest bit. Oh, you guys can't see what I'm mixing. Okay, I think I totally added, yeah, that's orange. Okay. Adding more yellow. So much more yellow. Okay, hopefully that will do the trick. Kind of. Ugh. Alrighty, starting off with my tint. Do I like this color? I think I do. Yeah, it's fine. Okie dokie. Going to add a little black. This is an ugly color. Gross. That color is gross. Ugh. Now that I'm looking at my orange, I just don't think it's orange enough. I'm going to mix a little orange that's a little bit more red to try to fix it. There we go. Easy fix. Ease to the peas. Oops. Yuck, that color is gross. Okay. Moving along, yellow, green. Alrighty, so I need a tiny bit of blue because we know that blue is super, super strong. And I need to make something that's lighter than my green. If you're making a color and you don't like how it's turning out, seriously, just start over. It's really hard to fix them. Okay, better. Yay, lime green. It's a fun color. I need to make some more paint. Oops, just dropped my brush. This is a pretty ugly color too. There we go. It's not perfect. It's just gonna drive me crazy. Voila. Alright, our color wheel is done. I feel awesome about it. I did not skip any colors. I got them all in. Now I need to think about my sky, what I want my sky to look like. I'm going to go through once more and see if I can't erase all of this stuff just a little better. Alrighty, that's as good as it's gonna get. Alrighty, friends, time to think about our sky and what we want for our sky. I want a blue sky with some clouds. Alrighty, I want my sky to be kind of blue. I want it to have clouds. So if you think about it, clouds are white on blue. So the only white that I have is the white of my paper. So I am going to make sure that I leave some space for clouds. After all of this hard work, I really hope that this turns out pretty. So friends, be creative with your backgrounds. Make them lovely and interesting. You want to have some spots that are darker, some spots that are lighter. Think about all of the things that I can do. This is my interpretation of a blue sky. Voila. All right, that's my sky. Sticking with it. Right, I'm going to check and make sure that my painting is almost dry. Any place that you can feel that's cool, that means it's still wet. But I'm just going to go for it and hope that it's dry enough. Aha, pink scissors. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to so carefully, and I mean so carefully, I just spent forever painting this, it feels. I am going to so carefully. Did I mention I'm going to do it carefully? Hey guys, I'm doing this carefully. I'm going to carefully cut out my cityscape. Holy cow, you guys. I had to like find 3 different bottles of glue before I could find one that would work. That is annoying. Alrighty, so I'm going to be mounting my painting onto this black paper. But before I do that, I need to write my name, my first and last name, and my class code. That does not say 6-moon, that says 6-meow. Once I've done that, I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to think about my placement. So friends, just because I gave you a piece of paper that is 12 inches by 18 inches does not mean that that's how it has to stay. I want my drawing to be kind of centered, but there's a lot more over here. You can see there's some like that's hanging off the edge. So I am going to trim my paper. First, I'm going to take my glue. Doesn't that look cool at the bottom? And I am only going to put glue around the edges. I never need to put glue in the middle of anything. If I just put glue in the middle and don't put any glue on the edges, then all of the corners are gonna like creep up and it's not going to look good. So I am carefully deciding where I should glue this down. I can feel that my painting is still a little bit wet, but it's okay. Alrighty. Now I can see that it is uneven. And I want to make it even, so I'm going to use my eyeballs to guess where I should trim it on this side. Meow, meow, meow. That looks good to me. I am going to, very carefully, draw a perfectly straight line. If I draw a crooked line, this is going to look weird. It's going to look like I did not care about the last part. And I do. I care about it very, very much because that's the part that people are going to see. Alrighty. Oh, gross. There's glue coming out of my painting. I'm wiping it on the paper. Okay. Now I'm going to take my scissors and I'm very carefully going to cut along this straight line. Voila. Now I have my mounted color wheel in my worm's eye view. And there we have it. Yay.